in a quiet village nestled between rolling hills. Aisha was known for her kindness and her radiant smile. She was a young woman of 22, with dreams of becoming a teacher to help the children of her village build a better future. Despite the challenges of living in a rural area, Aisha's spirit remained unbroken, and she was a source of inspiration for many. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Aisha was walking home from the school where she volunteered. The path was familiar, lined with trees and the distant sounds of evening prayers echoing from the mosque. But on this day, her journey home took a dark turn. A group of men, hidden in the shadows, attacked her. What happened next was a nightmare that Aisha had never imagined in her worst fears. They silenced her screams and left her broken and bruised, both physically and emotionally. The village, once filled with the sounds of laughter and life, fell into a suffocating silence. Aisha, who once brought joy to those around her, withdrew into herself, haunted by the trauma of that night. The crime was a stain on the village's conscience, but the men responsible walked free, protected by a culture of silence and fear. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Aisha's once bright eyes were now shadowed with pain, and she could no longer bear to leave her home. The walls of her room became her sanctuary, but also her prison. The world outside seemed too harsh, too cruel. But then, something began to change. Aisha's mother, a woman of quiet strength, refused to let her daughter's light be extinguished. She reached out to a women's organization in the nearest city, an organization that fought for justice for survivors like Aisha. With their support, Aisha slowly began to reclaim her life. The path to healing was long and fraught with obstacles. Aisha faced not only the trauma of the assault, but also the stigma that often follows survivors in her society. Yet, with each passing day, she grew stronger. She attended therapy sessions where she learned that her worth was not defined by what had happened to her. She met other survivors who shared their stories, and she realized she was not alone. With the help of the women's organization, Aisha found the courage to seek justice. The road to the courtroom was difficult, with many trying to silence her voice. But Aisha stood firm, knowing that by speaking out, she was not just fighting for herself, but for all the women who had been silenced. The trial was a grueling process, but in the end, the men who had attacked Aisha were convicted. The verdict was not just a victory for Aisha, but for her entire village. It was a wake-up call, a reminder that silence only protects the guilty. Aisha's journey did not end with the trial. She continued to heal day by day, surrounded by those who loved and supported her. She returned to the school, her passion for teaching reignited, and her students saw her not just as a TAC,